In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 solutions to stop worrying so much about running out of money. You may feel like, I don't really worry about running out of money, Camille. This isn't really something that's going on with me. Trust me, if you're human, you're probably worrying about running out of money. So just listen to this video and you'll find out why almost everybody is worried about running out of money, and 3 things that you can do to stop worrying so much, to let go of that deep, really often unconscious feeling that we have that is tied to running out of money. And the problem with it is it affects our investment decisions on a subconscious level. Okay, so the thing that we fear about running out of money is our survival. This is tied to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Since we need money to pay for shelter to survive, we've got to have money just to stay alive. Recently, I saw a podcast with 2 guys that had sold companies for well over $10 million. One was closer to $20 million. They both confessed they still are scared to death that they might run out of money. And both of them admitted that this fear is so intense, it keeps them from investing well, that they know they could do a better job investing, but they're worried about running out of money, even though they have all this money, and they admit that they have way more than enough money to sustain their desired lifestyle for life, which is, I like to say, the goal for most of us. Okay, so my point is that almost everyone has a deep-rooted fear about running out of money, even if you feel like you don't. So in this video, I want to share with you 3 ways that you can reduce the stress of running out of money, that you can stop worrying about it, because we all know that stress is bad for our health. And again, it's just hard to invest well, and it's hard to enjoy life when we have that deep-rooted underlying fear. It's bad for us. So the very first solution is that you can calculate your survival expenses. Now let me take you through this little process. These are all 3 super short little processes that honestly, they can change your life. They can change your situation around money, your happiness, and your ability to invest better. Okay, so the first one is just to calculate your survival expenses. So what are survival expenses exactly? They're the expenses that you have to incur just to stay alive, okay? Expenses on this list would be things like rent, utility bills, electric and water. This probably wouldn't include Netflix or Apple TV or other services like that. We're talking about bare survival. Other expenses would be a minimum amount for low-cost foods, maybe things like ground beef or ground chicken or turkey, or rice and bananas, that type of thing. Not filet mignon, not those irresistible things that we get at Costco that are such incredible quality, but they're really good value. Nothing like that. This is like just to get by and stay relatively healthy. This isn't like McDonald's every meal like Warren Buffett does every morning. This is healthy food that we can stay alive with that costs little. Okay. Insurance is another expense that could be added to the list, although you may want to adjust the amounts you currently pay for insurance down to the minimums that you would be paying if you changed your lifestyle. For example, if you were living in an apartment, instead of insuring your home, your insurance would be a whole lot less. It would just be covering your goods. And if you drove a $10,000 car versus a more expensive car, or had multiple cars. So what is it that you would just have to have just to get by and be comfortable, but the minimum? Well, I think for me, I can think back of when I graduated from college and I was so excited to have, enough to buy $10 worth of gas to put in my car. So what is the minimum that you need just to live? Medical insurance is another expense that would need to stay on your list of mandatory expenses. Other expenses might include things like taxes, medical expenses themselves, besides the medical insurance I just mentioned. And also, if you've got debt, those minimum debt payments. Then total all those expenses up, and then look at that number and ask yourself, could I cover these expenses? Could I cover it? And if you can cover it, you know that you can survive. That removes immediately that deep-rooted fear that we have about not being able to survive. If we know the bare minimum we can get by, we're comfortable. Come on, we've got air conditioning. We're comfortable. We've got food, 3 meals a day, way more than most people have, honestly, in the world. So you're comfortable, but there's a lot you want, but you can get by, and you know you can. You know you can survive on this. It feels really great to realize that you can survive, as is the case that with most people that do this exercise. Okay, so take 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes probably, to do this, 3 minutes, and free yourself of that worry, that survival worry of running out of money. Okay, let me share with you the next 2 solutions to overcome the fear of running out of money. The next solution is similar to the first solution, but it uses a different approach. With this solution, you're going to total all of your actual expenses. So in the first solution, you figured out how you could lower your expenses down to the absolute minimum. In this case, we're going to actually see what you're spending. So look at what you actually spent. I love this solution. So separate your mandatory expenses from your non-mandatory expenses. So these are things that you spent. I like to look at quarters, so you might want to look at the past 3 months, or you can do the last month if you want, but a little bit longer is better. And separate out those mandatory or non-mandatory, and I should say mandatory and non-mandatory expenses. Okay, in financial lingo, this is sometimes called discretionary and non-discretionary. So total those mandatory expenses after you've separated them out, and then figure out the percent of your total spending that your mandatory expenses are. For example, if you spend $10,000 a month and $5,000 are for mandatory expenses, I'm just throwing out easy random numbers here. I know everybody's different. Some of you spend $2,000 a month, you tell me in the comments, and some of you spend $20,000 a month. Okay, so let's just go with 10, and let's say that $5,000 are for mandatory expenses. Then you're getting to choose. Here's the power step in this. You're getting to choose how you spend 50% of your earning power. So 50% of your income, that money you have to spend every month, you're getting to choose how you spend it. Doesn't that feel great? I love this exercise. And it occurred to me recently when I was playing with our finances, as I like to do in a nerdy way. And I was like, wow, we get to choose how we're spending this much of our expenses. Do I really want to spend money on whatever it is that I'm not really maybe using that much? So it's a powerful insight when you can see how much you're getting to, how much of your spending you're getting to choose. Realizing this, that it's about making choices. And I think that when we realize that we're making choices about things, no matter what it is in life, it's liberating and it's empowering. And so many things feel like they're not a choice, right? So many things in life. But if we step back and we look, usually it is related to a choice. And when we realize this, is liberating and it's very empowering. And when we do this with our money, it's very freeing. So I suggest that you look at this solution. Okay, now I've got one more solution that you can use to stop worrying about running out of money. And this solution is to dig deep and see how you really feel about money. And this is super empowering. As we saw, even the 2 Deca plus millionaires were worried about running out of money, even though logically they knew they had plenty of money. The math was there. It showed they had plenty of money. So what we need to do is look and see, where did our beliefs about money come from? And it's usually from our childhood family beliefs about money. Fear about money is passed from generation to generation. I, as an older person, had parents that went through the Depression, and there was a lot of fear, of course, about running out of money. There are many, many different scenarios that your family could have gone through, and it could be that your parents are just living their grandparents or their grandparents' feelings about money, their deep-rooted unconscious beliefs about money. So the thing to do is just to look at what was the attitude in your childhood home about money. What was said? What were the things? What's your first memory of money? And what was the situation? Would it make you feel like there's not enough money and you're going to run out of money? And that's the case with most of us. That's just the case. Our parents are trying to do a good job in teaching us not to waste our money. But in doing that, it often roots in us fears, deep-rooted fears about running out of money. But what you can do is recognize this. And what I like to do is just say, replace that thought with your own thought about money. And it could be something, you might buck this, but it can be something like, there is plenty of money. And even though it feels like there's not plenty of money, we know that there is an abundant supply of money. So choose your own feelings about money. And it could even be something like, I'm good at investing money. I'm good at growing and managing my money. I'm good at taking care of my money. I'm grateful for my money. So you can choose your own thoughts. It doesn't have to be too woo-woo, like there's an abundance of money, when it feels like there's really not, because you'll buck back on that. But something like, if you can feel good about being an empowered person around your money, then you can really, really change your actions around your money, where you're not being driven by those subconscious beliefs. And this is a really, really simple but hugely empowering step. If you're finding it hard to do this, grab a journal and write out for less than 5 minutes, honestly, the things that come up for you around this. These are 3 steps that you can take to stop worrying about running out of money. And remember, retire certain.